Hello, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us to learn about 5 languages to improve financial communication for couples. Obviously, a very important topic. I'm Rita Wolfson, the founder of Financial Social Work, and with us is Linda Benjamin, our relationship manager. Want to say hi, Lynn? No? Okay. Then we have Eric Sopp. He is definitely online. We won't make him say hello. Okay. Our speaker today is Joanne. Joanne, help me out here. I have trouble with her last name. You want to say it
No
for us?
worries, Rita. Yeah, I'm Joanne Dinganan. Nice to meet you all.
Okay, and Joanne will be telling you about herself and her work when she does her part of this training. Before we get to that part, I'd like to answer some of the most commonly asked questions, and I have some suggestions for you. So you can check the chat box for messages, but that's not really likely to have too much in there. You need to know the slides aren't shared. They are proprietary, but the recording will be on our website and YouTube channel by the beginning of next week. It will also, that recording, be emailed to you next week. There's no CE or certificate of attendance for this training, just a lot of great information to help you personally and professionally. Type your questions into the question box and we'll answer as many as time permits. If you have any tech issues, go to financialsocialwork.com and use the chat so that Eric can help you, and he is online or waiting for you. I start all of my trainings with our financial social work affirmation because I think it captures the work I've been doing for almost 3 decades. So just for today, I will love myself enough to face my fears, practice self-acceptance, and embrace hope. Silence my inner critic, speak my truth, and make peace with myself and with my past. Just for today, I will give myself permission to eliminate toxic people, beliefs, and behaviors from my life to prepare for a better tomorrow by healing my relationship with my money and myself today. So I want to encourage all of you to stay with us. We have something special to announce when we finish this training. So let me tell you a little bit about financial social work before I turn this over to our speakers. What is it, what it does, and why it makes a difference? So financial wellness for us is about recognizing money as a source of empowerment. And we know that most people see money as something completely negative and different, but that's not the way it has to be. So this definition is based upon our holistic therapeutic and psychosocial model. And it's important because we explore the non-financial components as well as the financial components that contribute to financial health and wellness. We know that financial problems lurk in the shadow of every purchase and financial choice. And we want to help people avoid those problems. We know no one chooses to have money problems, but sadly, we also know that most people do. When you have money problems, you need knowledgeable, trustworthy professionals to help you cope with your financial struggles. You need a safe, non judgmental space to learn about and talk about money. Everyone needs someone and somewhere to share their money secrets and questions, the ones they've been denying, hiding from, or avoiding most of their lives. And I want you to know that financial social work certification is inclusive and available to everyone. Financial social work is at the intersection of social work, politics, the economy, gender, racial, social, economic climate, and other equal justice and mental health and financial inequity. Sounds like a lot. It is a lot, but it works. Financial social work is heavily psychosocial. It examines and addresses the thoughts, feelings, attitudes, values, and beliefs that drive financial behavior. That makes it a behavioral model. And the reason for that is until and unless behavior changes, nothing changes. And for us, financial behavior is represented by how we earn, spend, save, share, and borrow. Because we know financial problems, stress, trauma, anxiety affects us mentally, physically, emotionally, and socially. Financial social workers are agents of financial change, advocates for marginalized groups, committed to gender, social, and economic justice, help clients cope, heal, and deal with their money and their mental health. Financial social workers work to repair their own and their clients' relationship with money and self, and work on the meso and macro levels for organizational and policy change. So yes, financial social work works on all levels of social work, and social workers need it, and it benefits our profession. Financial behavior, as I explained and told you, this is so important. So these are some of the benefits to organizations and agencies using financial social work. These are some of the benefits for policymakers, and this is how financial social work improves client outcomes. Again, it's a lot, but we've spent a lot of time creating all of this for the profession. And here you can see the different ways that financial behavioral health process from financial social work benefits those on the micro level, meso level, and macro level. And now it gives me great pleasure to turn this presentation over to our speaker, and she can share with you her beautiful informational training session. You ready, Joanne? Joanne? Eric? Can you help me out here?
Hi there. Thank you. I was just having a little trouble sharing my screen. Do you all see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rita, for having me today. And thank you all for joining us today. I'm Joanne Tinganan. I am a financial healing coach, and I'm excited to be here. Last year, I finished my certification in financial social work, and I'm very honored to share my work so far in some research that I've been doing and presenting today, the 5 money languages. To give you some background, what we're covering today
Joanne, can you put that in presentation mode? Because we're seeing your bottom slides also. Are you good with that?
Thank you. Thank you so much. I was wondering which screen I'm.
I know you have several screens. That's right.
Yes.
For everybody in the audience, when you have multiple screens, it's a little challenging with this program. Okay, that looks good.
Does that work better?
Yes, yes, thank you.
Thank you. All right. So here's what we'll cover today for the rest of the session. Tell you a little bit about my my business, which I call Financial Healing. We'll go into, of course, the 5 languages of money and how you can apply that to any of your clients who may be couples. And in fact, you could use this also for individual clients as well. We'll go into case studies and we'll have a little bit of fun. There's 5 case studies and I'd love to ask some audience participation there, how you can integrate it into your practice, and then I'll answer some questions in the Q&A portion. So if you do have any questions, please please enter them into the questions portion of the GoToWebinar. Again, I'm Joanne Dinganan. I am an accredited financial counselor as well as a certified financial social work coach. I have 2 main roles in my work as founder and principal financial healing coach for Financial Healing, as well as a California market manager for a nonprofit called Financial Beginnings. And in my mission, I bring heart and healing to money management in both of my roles. But quickly about Financial Beginnings, a nonprofit that I work with. We provide curriculum delivery, licensing, and volunteer opportunities. So if you are curious about what this nonprofit does, we are a national nonprofit, and we have offices in Pacific Northwest, California, where I am, and in Nebraska. Financial Healing is my coaching work. I provide one-on-one sessions, a budget subscription service, and I provide public speaking and workshops. So if you want to know more, I have that QR code on the screen here. And what we are doing, we as in everybody in this room, Miss Rita Wolfson, we are all redefining money management, and I'm super excited for that because I believe money management should go beyond just the numbers on your bank statement, on your budget, and your net worth statement. So I bring heart and healing to money management by addressing the difficult feelings, emotions, and trauma as it relates to money. And so we are in a relationship with our money. As the financial social work certification really digs in, this relationship with money can be very difficult. And so what the questions that I ask when I'm working with my clients is, how do they interact with their money? Are they an active or passive participant? Do they view their money negatively, positively, or neutrally? Do they avoid money altogether? And so when it comes especially to counseling for couples, that can provide many layers of counseling that can get very convoluted. And so I recognize that when it comes to marriages or successful relationships, integrating money management into their day-to-day makes it more successful. And so I'm bringing in an article from the Pew Research Center that shares how household chores, including money management, is one of the big keys to a successful marriage. And so in the clients who are couples that I work with, I've discovered that money language is really important for awareness. And so in my work, I've developed the 5 money languages. And so if you're familiar with the 5 love languages, I'm a big fan of Gary Chapman, who developed the 5 love languages. And so if you're familiar already, you're way ahead of the game. And basically, I wanted to adapt this model as a way to help couples understand their money languages. And so very quickly, I just want to cover the overview of the 5 love languages as Gary Chapman has discovered them. First is acts of service. Second is physical touch. Third is quality time. 4 is receiving gifts and words of affirmation. And one can receive languages and one can give languages. So for example, I receive the physical touch and quality time as my love languages, but I give as my love language to my partner words of affirmation. And so you can have different love languages, just like you would with the 5 money languages that I'm about to present. So the 5 love languages I have developed by observation and practice. So like I said earlier, I'm a market manager for Financial Beginnings. Essentially, I'm a financial educator. I teach others to become financial educators. I teach in the classroom and have taught hundreds of students over time since 2018. I've also observed in life, as many of you I'm sure have, with the adults and growing up, with peers. So I've observed that there's many ways that we speak when it comes to money. I've also practiced as a financial coach and counselor to adults since 2020 of all different socioeconomic backgrounds. And so I've observed the ways that we behave with money. I've observed how folks speak the language of their money in different ways. And so before I get into those 5 languages, I want to share what those features are as you keep in mind what those languages are. I come with a non-judgmental lens. I'm coming into these 5 languages knowing that there are so many ways that we behave and speak with money that I'm not here to criticize. I'm here to really observe and share what that is as just a matter of fact. All 5 languages can be either or both detrimental or beneficial. You can have multiple or overlapping languages. You can have different languages over time. And you can think in one language, but act in another. So just like with the 5 languages of love, you might be receiving a money language, but you might act differently in another. And so the first one here is giver. These are folks and individuals who are charitable with their time and their money, and they may share their time and money with family, community, or organizations that they care about. Survivor is somebody who has experienced some sort of degree of financial trauma, whether that's little t or big T, as I like to say, but they are constantly perhaps anxious or worried about money, even when, you know, the capacity might be there already. The next one is YOLO, you only live once. I'm going to bring in some millennial language here. YOLO are those who are seekers of instant gratification. They might be an impulsive spender. And this even can be somebody who budgets for their impulsive spending. Slow burner is somebody who delays their gratification. They are spenders, but they do save before they spend on a big ticket item. Nest eggers, finally, as the 5th language, is a prodigious saver. They might be an avid investor. These are also folks who are engaging in what's called the FIRE movement, and that stands for financial independence to retire early. So for example, FIREs set aside upwards of 70% of their income into their retirement savings in order to make that happen. A good friend of mine, Erin, is definitely a nest egger. So they're out there, and I'm really excited to share how these 5 languages interact with one another, especially as it pertains to how couples work together in their finances. But very quickly, I want to take a poll and see what resonates with you all. What is your money language? And I would love to see how you resonate. So I'm gonna.
Did you want me to pull up the poll, or are you going to, Jill?
I'll go ahead and do it right now.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Rita. Oh, I see. The first option is giver. It should just say giver right there. Thank you. All right, I see the votes coming in.
I do think that what I would look for.
All right. Thank you all for indulging me on that. Looks like most of us have voted. Let's see. I'm gonna close the poll in just a second. Looks like. All right. So I'm just gonna share the results really quick. It's fascinating. So a lot of us, I would say most of us here are slow burners. That's really fun to see. Survivor and giver are a close second. And we have some nest eggs and YOLOs in the room. Thank you for indulging me on that. I really appreciate it. All right. Do y'all see my screen okay now? I'm back to my slides here.
Yes, we see your screen.
All right, thank you, Eric. All right. Well, how is learning these 5 languages helpful? I first wanted to present other money languages in case the work with your clients may not resonate with these 5 money languages, because I can't pretend I'm the only one to have come up with them or with another modalities. So I wanted to share what other money languages you can use in your work that might resonate better. And so the first money language that I discovered in my research was developed by a woman named Christine B. Whelan. And her approach to the money languages was more about how do you feel about your money? How do you interact with your money? And so the 5 languages that she developed are the planner, the worrier, the seeker, the believer, and the tracker. So if you do a quick Google search about Christine Whelan's money languages, it'll come up, and you can read a little bit more about each language and how these interact with the way folks see their money. Another Christine happened to also develop 5 languages of money, and she directly applies Gary Chapman's 5 love languages to money. And so just like with languages of love, she says that the 5 languages of money are acts of service, physical touch, quality time, receiving gifts, and words of affirmation. So it's interesting to see how this language is directly applied to money. And so it might be a little different, of course, as you apply it. For example, if you like to, if your money language is acts of service, it may be that the way that you interact with money, or that you prefer to interact with money, is all about providing services to the ones you love or to yourself. Perhaps you like having a cleaning service come to your home every so often so that you can free up your money. So that's just a quick example of that. The next one is called Money Habitudes, and this in particular is a game. So if your clients like to gamify many aspects of their life, then you might consider using Money Habitudes. And in Money Habitudes, there are 6 behaviors, or 6 habitudes rather. First one is somebody who plans. The next one is status. The next one is spontaneous. Next is security. Next is giving. And finally, carefree. So the way that this works is in this card game, it's basically a quiz that will help you arrive at your particular money habitude. So again, super helpful for the clients who like to gamify different aspects of their life. And then finally, this technically isn't a language, but it is a relationship modality that I have seen in my clients, and it's John Bowlby's attachment theory. So if you're familiar with the attachment theory, it's all about how individuals interact in their relationships as it has been molded by their child upbringing. And so John Bowlby's theory is that as a child learns attachment from the adults in their life, perhaps that is their parents, perhaps it's a guardian that raised them, it may very well affect the way that they act in their adult relationships. And so those 4 attachment theories are ambivalent attachment, avoidant attachment, disorganized attachment, and secure attachment. And so I like to spend a lot of time on this one, particularly because this may be a relationship theory that could be applied as a layer on top of the different money languages that I just presented to you, including mine. So I think it's very fascinating to me how, as we look at, individuals interacting with their money with the layer that it's a relationship, this attachment theory makes a lot of sense to me as we are understanding how our clients cope or interact or manage their money. All right, so in this next section, I'm excited to share some case studies and to kind of change it up a little bit. I encourage you to use the chat box for the next 5 slides because I'm going to present some case studies of couples. And so I'll give or share kind of like the main issue that the couple is addressing in their work with me. And I would love to hear what your prescription is, if you will, as to the way that their language might interact with each other. So let's start with the first one. This is just a test round, and let's get started. All right, so Genevieve and Astrid are kind of diametrical opposites in their love language. Genevieve is a YOLO, Astrid is a nest egger. Oh, and by the way, I've changed the names. There's no identifying giveaways here, but I have changed each person's name here. So Genevieve is a YOLO, Astrid is a nest egger. Genevieve learned from her mom how to spend well, and Astrid learned from her dad how to save well. And so there's, as you can imagine, a lot of friction in the way that they both interact with their money. And so they're kind of new. They've been together for 7 years, but they're new to managing their money together. And so they are a high-income couple. They have diametrically opposed languages, with Genevieve as a YOLO and Astrid as a nest egger. And so the main friction here is that Genevieve likes to treat both of them. She likes to treat both of them in concerts, and she likes to treat herself in shopping for clothes. She also gets her nails done a lot. Whereas Astrid, she is not an avid spender. She prefers to save her money and not spend on herself all that much. And so let me pause here and ask the audience, what would you prescribe to this couple in terms of not necessarily the money tools, but in what would you prescribe to them in their budget, for example, or in their spending plans? How would you address their two languages and bring them together in their money management? So feel free to type in the chat box. And keep in mind, again, they are new to managing money together. They are looking to reach some goals together, such as moving into an a bigger apartment. They are wanting to address Genevieve's credit card debt. So what would you prescribe to Genevieve and Astrid?
Joanne, we're getting answers in the question box. So if you want to take a look there.
Sure thing, thank you.
Sure.
Sorry, I was looking in the chat box. All right, I see suggestions for separate accounts, mutual agreement on set amounts dedicated to saving and fund money, planning and reviewing account spending, personal budgets for spending, a pot for saving together, create a recreation line in their budget, budgeting together, absolutely, setting goals and developing a plan and tracking their expenses. These are all great. I love it. Thank you so much for submitting these suggestions. Let's see. So I'm seeing like a fusion of how do we fuse the YOLO and the nest egg together, and that's precisely what I also shared with them and prescribed to them. And so I suggested, really to satisfy Astrid's nest egg tendencies, to build a 12-month emergency fund. Knowing that she is an avid saver, I didn't think that was out of the realm of possibility for them. As well as develop a creative budget that gives them room to enjoy their income while saving for their big goals. So looks like it was all in line with what you are all suggesting. All right, so the next case study. Sean is a YOLO, Medea is a slow burner. And with Sean and Medea, they're both entrepreneurs with variable income. They live just below their means, and they do live paycheck to paycheck with unpredictable income. So they're not sure where to start in growing their wealth. And so how would you help Sean and Medea find predictability in their variable income? So go ahead and submit those in the, it looks like we're using the question module, so I'll look for those there. All right. So again, YOLO is you only live once, right? Those are folks who may spend impulsively. A slow burner is somebody who also spends, but they save first before spending their money on high-ticket items, perhaps. All right, I see some suggestions coming in. Create a sinking fund for regular expenses, compromise on spending budget and when to spend. Resources to help support income. Percent of checks can be split into spending and saving. Develop a plan for the future and save and include fun in the budget. Current spending account and separate savings. Save a security fund of 3 to 6 months of consistent bills. All right, thank you all for sharing. I appreciate the input. I recommended developing a budget with a 1-month cushion. So while that kind of sounds like an emergency fund, I wanted them to save enough for a 1 month cushion so that they can basically rely on a reliable number from last month's income, so that they know it's that part of the predictability is built in for at least 1 month. I also recommended developing at least a 12-month emergency fund, again, to make income more predictable. That gives them a solid runway, a full year of runway, so that if their variable income is super variable throughout the year, they have that reliability. All right, next case study. Minnie and Miguel are both YOLOs. They both bring in high income, but they came to me not knowing where their money went each month. They most enjoy traveling and vacations, which is where a bulk of their money goes, but it still didn't make sense to them that they'd end the month sometimes in the negative. They have 2 young kids, and their desire to renovate their single family home has gotten delayed because of their lack of awareness of where their money is going. So how would you support Minnie and Miguel, and what recommendations would you make for them? All right, I see some responses coming in. Tracking and documenting their spending. Absolutely. Create a budget plan, create automatic saving withdrawals. They're both employees. They're both full-time 9-to-5s. Tracking spending, set up savings. Absolutely. Budget travel. Yes, absolutely. Set specific savings goals and decrease spending. So thank you all for your input. Absolutely. So tracking spending is definitely one of the things I prescribe to them for sure, but essentially I wanted them to create at least a 6-month emergency fund and a sizable sinking fund for their vacations. With their desire of traveling, especially with 2 kids, that can get very expensive. So that was my prescription for them. And with a sinking fund for vacations, they can reliably see how much they can save for that home renovation. Next case study, Lorena and Grant. Lorena and Grant's financial literacy levels are at different ends of the spectrum. Lorena grew up with none and typically avoids doing any type of spend planning or budgeting altogether. And so in this particular case study, I didn't use any of the love language, but I instead used John Bowlby's attachment theory. And I realized, oh, Lorena's she's very avoidant with money. But thankfully, she's not a huge spender and has made it through okay, but she does feel that she's not maximizing her money. Whereas her partner Grant is secure in his relationship with money. On the other hand, he's an avid investor. He gets a kick out of saving. He regularly interacts with his money and is ready to stay for their shared goal, including their upcoming nuptials. They are engaged. And so how would you marry their 2 attachment styles when it comes to money? Oops. All right. So what would you prescribe to Lorena and Grant? Encourage them to have regularly planned and scheduled meetings to discuss money so that they're equally informed and understand their finances. Absolutely. Oh, okay. Same here. A second response, having a meeting, a weekly or daily meeting to check in with their budget. Create a budget and emergency fund. Money talks. Absolutely. Money talks, having regular check-ins. Create a budget together. Absolutely. I actually wanted to give Lucas, I'm sorry, I have different names on there, but Grant, Grant is the secure one with his money. So I recommended that Grant become kind of like the money manager with Lorena as an equal money decision maker. So that Lorena can learn as much from Grant as Grant can learn from Lorena. I also wanted to help them develop a budget that integrates their long-term goals. So I actually just found out that they're expecting. So not only is their nuptials coming up, but they also have to plan for growing their family. So developing that budget, again, that integrates that long-term plan. Jake and Bo. So Jake is avoidant with his money, whereas Bo is secure with his money. Jake is an entrepreneur with variable and sometimes unreliable income. Oh, my apologies. And so Bo, so Jake is an entrepreneur, whereas Bo has had a steady 9 to 5 salary for a long time. So this was my toughest couples case so far. Jake, having an avoidant attachment to his money, refused for a long time that he had issues with spending beyond their means. And so their family had gotten used to a particular lifestyle. So it was difficult for Jake and Bo to work together to build a reasonable budget. They also have back taxes. With Jake being an entrepreneur, there was some mistakes he made on filing his taxes in the past few years. And so back taxes have set their wealth building back quite a bit. So with back taxes and 3 adult kids to support, how would you handle this case? I see a question here. Why are they supporting 3 adult kids? Their 3 adult kids are fresh college graduates, so they are still supporting them. And one of them actually is on the spectrum. All right, let's see. Have Jake track his spending and compare it to his income. Help Jake identify ways to increase steady, reliable income. Adult kids need to work and contribute to the household income. Hire a tax accountant. Budgeting, including an IRS payment plan. Have the family create a budget. Hire an accountant, create an emergency fund. Allow Bo to make money, to manage money, and both have consensus on decision making. Absolutely. My ultimate recommendation for them was to downsize their lifestyle in as many areas as they could and create a new normal spending plan. So while they're adult kids, yes, absolutely, I recommended that they contribute to the household income, but I also, as realistic as they could, how could they downsize? So in the way that they might be able to overhaul their food spending, or was it reasonable for them to look for a place that is less expensive? So it was, like I said, it was the toughest case that I had, simply because Jake having an avoidant attachment to money, it was very difficult to even show how a budget could help them. So it was quite the challenge, but we worked through it, and downsizing their lifestyle seemed to be the main way that they got through what their obligations were, including those back taxes. All right, thank you all for indulging me. It was really interesting to hear what your recommendations would have been for each couple, and I appreciate your indulging me. So I'll close here with how to bring this theory into your practice, into how to bring different languages of money into your particular practice. And so the first thing here I would say is to assess whether identifying a language for the individuals in the couple would be helpful at all. So after your consultation, perhaps with your couple client, would identifying what their love language or what their money language is, or their habitudes, or even their attachment style might be helpful. My next recommendation is to find their style. As you get to know your client a little bit more, as you get to understand how they interact with their money, you might be able to recommend a particular language or a particular attachment style, if that applies. So meet your clients where they're at. Are they already familiar with the attachment style? Are they already familiar with Gary Chapman's love languages? That's a way that you can keep it applicable, and you can keep it to what they already know. And then finally, make adjustments or pivots as you understand your client more, and as you get to know their situation more. You can make adjustments, of course, like you're going to have to as their case gets more and more familiar to you. So don't feel that you have to stick to one language, of course. Don't feel that you have to stick to one modality. I'm gonna leave it here in sources. I've listed 6 sources from my presentation, including that article about sharing chores as a good marriage. And so if you're ever wondering or want to look more into any of these other language modalities, you can do simple Google searches here. And I'm happy to share these links as well if that's possible. All right, I'll close there. Thank you all so much for allowing me to present the 5 languages of money as well as the other modalities. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm also on Substack, Medium, and Instagram at Financial Healing. And thank you so much to Rita and the Financial Social Work team for supporting me in this and allowing me the floor.
I think everyone is really glad that we were able to have you join us today. That was really wonderful. Thank you so much. I know that the audience really appreciated it. And I think we're going to have a few minutes for Q&A after I finish up the next few slides. So I want everyone to know that at the Center for Financial Social Work, we offer all kinds of programs to make your finances healthier. We have the certification program, we have payment plans, we have videos. And remember, I have a big announcement in just a few minutes. But we also have monthly free webinars. You're at one. We have the collaborative. I'll talk about that in a second. And lots of good things, free things, fee-based things. So here you can see we actually have a partner program. We have a magazine. We have a directory, and we have the collaborative, which is these 4 women created the FSW collaborative because they want to make sure that all financial social workers have mentorship and to network and for additional training. And that's included with your certification, as is a lifetime subscription to our financial social work directory. And we have added a financial social work video program and a Feminomics video course. And until about an hour ago, I would have finished this slide by saying coming soon is our couples and money video program. However, we now have it up on the website. So we have couples and money video courses. Elevate your professional skills with practical tools in navigating love, money, and partnership. And our introductory special through next Friday is 60% off of these 4 videos in the program. So the code for that discount is couples60, and that's good for a week. I want to point out that a month from now, our monthly free webinar will be the launch of our textbook, Financial Social Work, Micro, Meso, and Macro Practice. And we have lots of special things planned for that event. I hope you'll join us. And then in July, we have empathy-driven financial coaching for real life. This is what the textbook looks like. And if any of you teach, you might want to check it out. So a few things to remember about money is that no one chooses to have money problems, but most people do. The good news is that no one can or needs to know everything about money, but everyone needs to know certain things about money. We have to stay connected and alert to the relationship between money and mental health. And if we want to really make a difference in the world, we have to teach children about money. We have to stop raising generation after generation of financially illiterate people. So now is the time to invite greater financial health and wellness into your practice casework, client work, classrooms, everywhere, certainly into your own life. And it is the time to become an agent of financial change. We need to be agents of financial change. So this is the basics of the certification. It does currently include 20 CEUs. And here we finish up. And Linda, we can take some Q&A. We actually have time. Lynn? Oh. Eric, can you give us some questions?
Absolutely. So if you have any questions, just expand the questions box on your screen and you can just type in. Let me quickly scan, see if there's any recent questions. One moment. All right, here we go. Do you have an assessment to determine their spending type? Or do you, by observation from listening to them, determine what it is? Or do you allow them to provide their own feedback?
Joanne,
Great
that's definitely
question.
a question for you. Yes.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't have an assessment tool for the particular 5 languages that I presented. I present it to the clients and have them self-identify. And it's fun to do that because they'll identify it right away. I trust them to know.
Very good.
Really
There's
interesting.
Lots of thank yous. Several assessment questions, so we took care of that one. Here we go. Here's one. This one's for Rita. Is there a difference between the video program and the certification?
There is. There is a difference. The certification is the certification. It certifies you in financial social work. The video program is a video program filled with wonderful information and content, and each program has workbooks with it, but they are 2 very different programs and outcomes. So it is a good question. And if I'm not being clear enough, then ask me further.
Very good. Let's see. Lots of thank yous. Here we go. what are some tools to get couples to the first step of creating a budget, especially those who are on the opposite end of the spectrum of money languages?
I love that question. Absolutely. The first thing that I do with any of my clients, individuals or couples, is to complete a cash flow analysis. It might be painful for some folks, especially as folks who are trying to recover from credit card debt. And so a cash flow analysis is really kind of again, bringing the facts to the table and showing the couple, like, this is your current spending as it is. And with that cash flow analysis, I'm looking at categories of spending. And after getting the data, I basically asked them for the last 3 months of spending on credit cards and on their checking accounts. We go line by line, we go category by category, and I ask them, is this a reasonable number, or do you want it to be higher or lower? And so it's painstaking, it's cumbersome, but that's the very first thing I do with each client, especially couples, as they're trying to understand each other's spending habits and you know, come together in their own budgeting plan as a couple.
Helpful, very helpful.
So questions. Yes, this webinar presentation was recorded, is being recorded, and you can expect to receive an email notification to watch the recording by Monday. I don't see any other questions being added to the chat box, so maybe give it another 30 seconds. If you have a question, you can submit that. Oh, here they're coming in now. How long do you spend with couples? How many months?
That depends on the case. I recommend at least 3 sessions for initial work with them. But I have had couples renew, let's see, for a few times. So it's not necessarily months or anything like that. It's session based. So again, I mostly recommend a 3-session package to start. So yeah, it just depends on the case.
Interesting, very interesting.
That's great. Well, I think that wraps up the questions in here. There's a couple more. Do you bill a regular counseling session fee, and what kind of frequency? So you mentioned 3 sessions. What's the frequency?
Yeah, I'll address the first question. I have an individual session fee and I have a couple session fee. So, and frequency, that also depends on the case. So if the case is that, for example, perhaps the couple is trying to get through some credit card debt and they really just need help budgeting, I make that as frequent as a week per session. There might be cases that are less urgent, and those I recommend on a biweekly or monthly basis. For the monthly basis cases, those are mostly just like checking in on their budget and keeping track of their spending.
Very good.
Yeah, those were good questions and good answers for people. Anything else, Eric?
I believe that's it. Lots of thank yous.
Hey,
Great presentation. Thank you.
it was a wonderful presentation. I thank you. The audience thanks you. And I thank everyone for joining us. And I hope to see you back here next month for the launch of our financial social work textbook. And I hope you'll take advantage of this introductory special of 60% off of the Couples and Money video. And you can find that on our website at financialsocialwork.com. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye now.